All right. So
All
I'm with my
right.
buddy Matt in beautiful Bakersfield.
That's right.
What's
That's
going
right.
on, buddy? How you doing?
Not much. I'm doing great. How about you, Eric?
Good, man. I appreciate you taking a little time just to hang out and talk about some recovery things. Particularly just talking about COVID and how people in recovery, deal with that and push through it successfully. But first, why don't you give our peeps in group just a little idea of where you came from, what your journey's been like, how long you've been doing this thing.
Okay. All right, peeps. My name is Matt. I'm an alcoholic. I have a sobriety date of September 29, 2011. I've got a sponsor. His name's Herb K. He's actually based out of LA, where I'm originally from. And I say those things because as I continue to work the 12 steps, I get to keep a sponsor, a sobriety date, and my life seems to get progressively better. Actually, it does. It doesn't seem to. I started this journey, like I said, September 29, 2011. I'd had multiple attempts at trying to get sober, and they were always failed. And I believe the reason why is I never had recovery, and I never had attempted to work all 12 steps. And I was brought to a place where the pain and suffering was so great, I had nothing left to do but either that or just kill myself. Kind of what the book says, continue to the bitter end, accept spiritual help. And I accepted it unwillingly, like always. And
Fought it tooth and nail a little bit.
yeah, always. That was always my thing, right? It's like, yeah, I'm ready this time, right? And then it's like a little bit of work in front of you, like, wow, that seems a little extreme, and then it would always take me right back out. So that's basically the gist of my story.
Appreciate that, man. And also, so one of the things I've been talking about a lot in group lately is how we cope with COVID, and all the stress and anxiety that can come up with that. The drinking escalated. I think, they said that right when this thing started to happen, alcohol sales went up 54%. And, there's obviously, that's just like, a real indication that people are strung out, stressed out, fear of the unknown. But we are kind of armed and dangerous and equipped in recovery to deal with anxiety and fear and things that we can't control. How's that journey been for you during COVID? Have you been coping with COVID, and in what ways?
Yeah. So the thing with COVID is it doesn't really matter what you believe. It's affecting everybody. Your beliefs at that point don't matter. Life has changed. Life is different. And so there was a couple weeks when, I wasn't able to attend meetings and I relied on Zoom. There was a time when meetings actually weren't available and I had to rely on Zoom. Nothing wrong. Meetings are essential. Meetings are one alcoholic talking to another, which is the core of this thing, right? Because I got this good forgetter, right? It likes to forget a lot. So as I'm there listening and I can hear this, Bill calls it the language of the heart. I get reminded of things, and that it's essential to it. The thing is though is that I got this thing, right? I got this thing, like if you think of it as like a piece of gold, I got this chunk of gold, right? And what that felt like was I had little pieces of that before from these meetings, right? I had these little nodes of the spirituality, and I would leave a meeting and I would feel good. And if that's all my sobriety is based on, is going to meetings, then and feeling good that way, then I'm selling myself short is the real deal, right? And so what I realized was, while this COVID thing was going on, it was a time to get deeper into the meditation. It was a time to get deeper into the guidance. It was a time to really look at fear as a defect, because I can turn the news on, right? And I can just be pumped full of this defect. There was a moment in the early parts of this, I was losing it. And I had a lot of fears. And what did I do? I called another alcoholic, right? And I talked to them about what was going on. And a lot of times, like, I not only do I have a great sponsor, but I got a bunch of great friends in recovery that, I think you were mentioning right size, right? They'll get me down to right size, because what goes on in here is not reality. You know what I mean? Most of the time. And the thing that I have to look back on is 99.9% of my fears never come true. Right? And if it does, I usually get blindsided by it, and then I work through it. So I have to remember that I'm batting 100% on making it through the day, right? Now, how gracefully I do it, how full of fear I am, and my belief with this program is, if I'm not keeping the character defects checked per day, then eventually they just grow so big that I have to drink for relief because life just becomes unattainable, right? And that's the solution to feeling the way that I feel. And that's in a nutshell for me how this thing works.
Yeah, and so you were saying like year after year doing this work, it does get a little easier coping with stuff, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's a thawing out process for me. I'll put it this way: my first year was the worst year I ever had in my life. Right? I was
just saying,
stuck in it.
We don't tell our clients that, but no, I mean, here's the thing is what I'd like you to address is, so we got clients in group that are, in their first month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months of sobriety. Are they screwed going out there, or what do they need to do, man, when they get out of treatment?
Absolutely not, because I'll tell you what, most of the people that are listening to this in group, I tell some sponsees this too, because I work with a lot of guys. You're 8 months ahead of where I was. And what I mean by that was my first 8 months was locked away in a cell. And I had been diagnosed with cancer and I was dying from it. I had no family to touch, to hug. I had no program to work. I was going crazy in here. They removed the cancer. I went through radiation, right? So that first 8 months was, when I say was miserable, it's because I didn't have any tools for this solution. I didn't have any tools in this program. Right. So if you're in day 1, day 30, day 60, you're still way ahead of where I was in misery. And that's what I mean by my first year was miserable. When I got out and I heard that, oh, a drink sounds good, and I had promised it one more time, that's when I got scared and jumped into the work, right? But year 2 was pretty amazing. Now, I went through some stuff. I went through death of family. I went, a lot of different things. And you also have to realize this. If you're like me, you've lived most of your life with the same solution, right? What's that solution? Oh, yeah, solution, whatever it is, right? The thing is once you take away that solution and you actually give it the real solution, it takes some work. And I'm so used to and programmed to have instant gratification. I mean, that's part of my thing is I just want to feel good all the time, right? I want to feel good now all the time. That's not realistic. And so one expectation to realize through the process of this is, and it was told to me, and there's some cliche things, but they really are true, is I want to get comfortable being uncomfortable for a little while. Right? Do some things that you've never done before to have a life that you never had before. And with that uncomfortability, when I said program of actions, every action I took positive eventually gave positive results, whether it was that minute, 10 minutes, a year down the road.
Right.
But if I continued to do the same stuff, I would always have the negative consequences, right? And then my sponsor says it. He goes, he says, willingness without action is fantasy. I think Bill says it where faith without works is dead, right? But it's the same thing. I can't do anything but action, and I can follow the people that were in front of me and ahead of me that did the things that I had never done before, and I get the results. And my life today, like when I say, it gets better every year, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous of where I came from to the life that I have now. I mean, the solution is there. And I really like telling new people this because I wish somebody would have slapped me across the face and told me this. You don't have to white knuckle this. If I had to white knuckle this the rest of my life, kill me, right? There's a solution, and it's freedom and it's peace and happiness and serenity and joy and all those promises sprinkled throughout that book. And they're there. I got to do the work. I got to do the action. And the first time I got through all those steps, the thing that hit me at probably 34 years old was, why the hell didn't I do this sooner? But if there's anything I can say when you venture out into the real world from this point forward is don't listen to your head. It's full of crap, right? Find some sober friends and people and a sponsor, somebody that is a sounding board, right? I don't need another alcoholic to run my life. I just need somebody that I can run stuff by, and they can give me, somebody at 5 years has a different perspective of life and has a different perspective of thoughts and what's really going on. And that's what I need sometimes. I need to call and go, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Is it in line with what's really going on? And then they're like, yeah, that sounds normal. Or, in the first 3 or 4 years, I had all types of crazy ideas. And I would call and they'd be like, yeah, it doesn't really sound real good. You know what I mean? And that's kind of, keep yourself close. They say it's another cliche thing. When you're inside the center of the herd, you can't get attacked from the outside. You know what I mean? And that's really what it is. You know what I mean? And from that point on, I get this amazing life, and I'm free from the bondage of alcohol and self. It's pretty badass. But you know, have fun with it, because it's the best thing out there. It's the best gift available. It's a miracle, you know?
Perfect, man. Hey, I appreciate you hanging out and talking a little bit. This stuff's so relevant right now because everybody's going through it. So, you know, it's good to see someone who's a success story, who's kind of walking the talk, talking the walk, just doing it. You know? So I appreciate you, man.
Of course. I've suffered so much. If I could wave a magic wand over someone's journey and just be like, don't suffer anymore, I would. But honestly, I'd rob them of their journey, man. And that's what comes. I've suffered so much in my life, and most of it is self-suffering from this disease. It doesn't have to be that way. You know what I mean? It really doesn't. But people do need to understand this is a disease. If you think you have a choice, right, you're always going to choose wrong. If you're a real alcoholic, you know what I mean? If you're just a problem drinker and you got bad luck, hey, that's a different story. But if you really have this thing, it's like you got to take your medication or it will destroy you. You know what I mean? And one last thing, the suffering from this thing is like nothing else I've ever endured. It really isn't. And I think like why we relate so well is I know I've heard you share, you're the real deal. We've been in meetings, you know what I mean? Like I know how it is. And you know, when you've connected with another person that has lived that life and hit that bottom and suffered so bad that they're like, I can't do it anymore. And then that white light comes, right? That lifeboat. And that's the language of the heart. And that's one alcoholic talking to another. And that's what this thing, you know?
Yeah, we're so fortunate, you know, that we have each other, people like ourselves, you know, that we can do this journey with. We'd be screwed if it was just like me flying solo trying to tackle all this, but you know, we got our peeps, man, people that we're close to, and it's powerful. Life-saving.
It is.
Right on,
for
man.
Sure.
Thanks for taking the
Always
time.
great, man.
All right,
I'll see you soon. Thank you.
You got it.